Hello, today we're going to continue our study of middle game patterns. Today we're going to focus on how do you attack the castle king. Now today I played my favorite opponent, the Magnus Computer, age 10. This is an app which is available, and you can play Magnus at different ages. But even at age 10, I must warn you guys, the thing still plays around 2200 strength. How do I know that? Because I must have played it at least 50 times. And after 50 games, I must say that the score is about even. The computer is able to hold its own against me, over 50 games. I probably won about 20, it's won about 20 with 10 draws or something like that. So I know that it's about 2200 FIDE. Now USCF, it might be higher, maybe as much as 2300. Anyway, let's take a look at today's game, which is a Queen's Gambit. And as you guys know, this is one of the very, very best openings that you can play for white. Queen's Gambit. Okay, I had white. Now here we're kind of transposing into a Queen's Gambit from kind of a Nimzo Indian move order. Now this is probably black's most flexible way of playing, because once I play the text move, black can go into the BOGO with bishop check, Queen's Gambit decline with d5, which is what the computer played, or c5, the Benoni. So there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4 different systems that black can now play into. So this is the type of move order that I prefer when I'm playing black. Now we're going into a Queen's Gambit declined here. Now we will recall that in the 1972 match game number 1, the great Bobby Fischer played bishop b4, which is not all that common, which is called the Rogozin variation. And it's kind of a weird kind of line in the, in the Queen's Gambit. But it's not really played very often, even though I believe it's just as good as this, which is the main line. Note that I don't want to play e3 because that would lock the bishop in. So this is a better way to play it. Okay, so far this is basically the main line of the Queen's Gambit declined. And there's nothing new under the sun here. Everything is kind of book up to this point. And the computer, of course, gives it this position as equal. Let's see what the computer did. 94 is actually inaccurate according to the computer. It says h6 was best. Now this is called the so-called Lasker variation, and it's not that good for black, because I would object to the Lasker variation because, first of all, you're trading away your very best pieces. Right now the knight and the bishop are black's two best pieces. These pieces over here are slumbering. They're in slumber mode. We call this, you still got pieces in the box. So this is why I would maybe object to the so-called Lasker variation, which I've played many times myself. But and normal here is bishop takes bishop, but I came up with a novelty. This is this is kind of a real coffee house move. Caution, don't try this at home, folks. But anyway, this is kind of a weird move. See, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to seduce you into taking the bishop. And once you take the bishop, boom, I open up the H file. If you take, I'm not going to be taking with a knight, I'm going to be taking, recapturing with a pawn, so that this file can now open up to the king, and this is going to be ample compensation for the lost pawn. So let's see how the computer reacted. Knight c6, that's not very good. And I'll tell you why, guys. Look at this piece. This piece is going to be slumbering forever here. Because now you have to hope I'm going to play pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn, and then the bishop can get out and develop. But I'm not going to be playing pawn takes pawn anytime soon. So a lot of times in these queenside openings, you don't want to put the knight in front of the c pawn. You always want to get the pawn out in c5 and develop the knight behind the pawn, because it just, putting the knight in front of the c pawn is blocking your development. So it's a move many of you, I think, might want to try, but it's weak. So let's see what I did. I just kept developing, which is a good thing. Now this is not good for for black, because you're really strengthening my position, strengthening my center. See, now it's going to be hard to break down this powerful pawn center that white has. You see, he's not really contributing to development of this problem piece. This bishop is going to possibly be a problem for quite some time. Now you could play b6 and try to fianchetto the bishop, but obviously you see that if you develop to d7, it has it's very passive and has very little active prospects. So white, according to the computer, is up 0.3, and that I think is pretty accurate. And the main point is that white has very free development. This piece is developed, this piece is developed, this piece is developed, and I can castle kingside or queenside, or leave my king in the middle and start a kingside attack. So here is one of the rare positions where I may not want to castle, because I'm always hoping to utilize the open H file. Now this is kind of an advanced concept for most of you. Most of you want to castle early. But once you get to a more advanced level, you realize that the king is quite safe on f1. King can simply slide over to f1 if the king ever gets into any kind of danger. And then I may even continue with g4, because there's no immediate threat to my king. The files are not open, my king is not under any kind of threat. So my king can remain safely in the center, and I can attack on the side of the board with a pawn storm. Or I can start attacking the king with my pieces. Now here we have a 3-pawn cover in front of the castle king, and we will try to attack this formation here. Let's see what I did here. Okay, rook b8 isn't any good because it doesn't really help development. So this is a waiting move, but I'm really pointing this piece at the king and getting ready to sacrifice. Now that's kind of a lemon, because computer agrees with me, says mistake, h6 was best. Yeah, I also agree with that. Although h6 does give me a target for a later bishop sacrifice. So in point of fact, black is in just deep trouble, because he has trouble developing these pieces. And right now, he's only got one defender, this bishop, for his king, but yet I'm already swarming the king with bishop, bishop, knight, and possibly the queen. So black is clearly in hot water here. And the computer agrees. I'm up 1.9 at this point. Let's see what I did. Just a quiet developing move. You know, nothing special. Now, I think the computer preferred maybe queen e2, or even queen d2 is possible, with the item e4, queen f4, and transferring the queen quickly over to the critical area of the board. But there's nothing wrong with a simple, quiet developing move. Okay, now, you see, the computer has set up this kind of wall, pawns, you know, lined up against this bishop and queen battery. Now, ordinarily, this is granite. I cannot get through this particular formation. But the question is going to be, okay, suppose I do want to sacrifice. How would I weaken this structure so that I can now sacrifice? And the way that I get through this wall is I've got to get h5 in. So that explains my next move. And now, if the rook moves, I'm going to start blasting away with h5. And this is the reason that I didn't castle. Because if I castle, that takes a lot of the sting out of h5. But here h5 has a lot of force because I'm going to pry open the h-file and have a very strong attack going against the king. Okay. Oh, sorry guys, I'm going too fast as usual. Okay, so he kind of played a move which a lot of you might play, which is rook e8. And now I'm ready to mount my attack. See here, there's already a threat of me capturing, sacrificing the bishop, and then coming in with a big attack with knight g5. And that would probably be decisive. So he's got to be very careful because you have a minimal amount of pieces, only one piece that's really defending your king. So he's got to be very careful. That is kind of a lemon. Now it's over according to the computer. So we're going from kind of a bad game to now maybe lost at this point. Let's see what I did. Okay, that's hella strong. I'm just opening up. And now, look at this, 8.2. See, gradually over the last couple of moves, it's become critical because these pieces are just not in a position to defend the king, and I've got too much firepower here. I have the queen, I have the bishop, I have the rook, I have the knight, all ready to score and pounce on the king. So of course this move makes total sense. Now what happens if he captures the bishop? Queen takes pawn, threatening mate, rook e7, and then maybe knight g5, and there's probably no defense because I just have too many pieces coming into the attack. Now again, he doesn't want to take the bishop because queen takes pawn check, king up, king over, and then maybe just the quiet rook h7. Is probably enough to finish off black. And you know, the simple fact is that look at this 9.4. The computer says it's over, and I believe it is. See, that's a lemon because it's not really helping the defense any. Now I want you guys to pause for just a few seconds and ask yourself, do I have any more sacrifices here? Well, do ya, punk? Okay, the computer likes bishop takes pawn check, winning a pawn and winning the exchange. Let's say why that is so strong. See, it's so strong that the computer doesn't want to take it. Okay, so let's look at what would happen if you took the bishop. Well, if you did take the bishop, queen h7, king must go back here, right? And now maybe the quiet rook g6, threatening mate. And apparently there's no defense in that position. So look at this, 22.8. The computer realizes that it's more than over. It's hopeless, absolutely hopeless. So you can't take the bishop. And now 82 plus 82. Can you believe that, folks? Anyway, it's more than over, but let's see what I did anyway. I just took. See, now this is hella strong, and this is what most of you would play. I don't always believe, you have to play the fastest mate. Just play the move that wins. This is a good move. It's still a good move because no matter how you take, queen takes bishop, or if you take king takes bishop, I'm always going to have the rook h8, which is going to win the queen. So it's obvious that although this is not the quickest win, it's devastating. So let's see what happened here. Okay, now the computer correctly points out that maybe this is the quickest mate. And indeed, it probably is. But most of you, like me, just want to win the queen. So now at this point it's over, and you A players and B players can pretty much end the video. But for you beginners, it's good to see how you can finish off your opponent. Now it's good to trade down. Once you're ahead the queen for a bishop, you start trading down. Now this is good because I have the open D file threatening to pin the bishop. So the next move is forced. Now I check. And now it's simply a matter of starting to pick up the loose pawns, like this pawn here is weak. So bing, bing, bing. Anyway, I'm trading down and it's just duck soup at this point. Pretty much duck soup. So you're probably wondering, why don't I take the bishop? Well, because I want to decrease the chances of stalemate.